Welcome back to the Newcomers Podcast, people, where I explore what it means to be an immigrant with immigrants like myself. Today, I am talking with Jerry Onyegide, popularly called Tax Wiz, on Twitter. He's really big on Twitter. And we're talking about a couple of things. First of all, is for someone as good as he is with taxes, I keep wondering why it took him so long to launch his tax service for immigrants. But then the other thing we talk about also is all the mistakes he saw people make in the last tax season. And hopefully you can learn from that so that next tax season, you make sure you don't make those mistakes, people. And Jerry has an offer for you all. He's offering 5 15-minute consultations for the first people to send me an email when this podcast goes live. 5, just 5, for 15 minutes. Because if you want to do your taxes for next year, you start now to plan for it. Actually, now is already late. You should start in January. Not now. But yeah, let's get to it. You've been here like 3 years or so, right?
Yes.
Just curious, why did it take you so long to launch Tax Wiz? Because I felt like that's such a brilliant business, but like, why did it take you so long to finally do it?
Okay, so how do I put this? Like you said, 3 years. My first year in the country, I was basically okay. There's no right answer for this. I'm big on Twitter, as you know.
Yeah.
So I'm always there, like saying stuff, be it tax stuff or sport or anything. And whenever I'm on it, I see people just say like whatever they think about what the tax situation is in Canada. Well, taxes are too high, which is correct. Tax rates are this, which is mostly incorrect. If you do this, you're going to pay this. The CRA does so many things. And I'll just casually respond to them and say, this is wrong. Like, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is actually like very, 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 very not correct. So I'll correct them, and some people will argue with me, some will not. I eventually found out that the ones who will not argue with me were basically like liking my post or asking me further questions. More like my answers were too detailed
Yeah.
for it to be wrong. So they probably just had to believe like this guy knows what he's doing or knows what he's saying.
Yeah.
And then he just gradually went on from there, and you know, people started recognizing the fact that okay, no matter the questions they asked, like there was somebody called Jerry that would answer them, and he happened to be correct. So all this while, I wasn't really in the tax freeze phase. Like my mindset was not to set up tax or anything. I just felt, come on, I'm new here. Like there are surely people in this country doing things like
Yeah.
this. So what's to say that if I start now, it's even going to get out of the ground? So I never thought of it until one time someone actually just said, we do not have an in-house person like in the community, like in the Nigerian community, Nigerian space, that actually answers questions that the layman will understand. Like there are people touching on topics of finance, how to save, how to invest, and all of that, like broader topics. There are also people who do like way more advanced taxes. Like, I mean, obviously, people know that if you want to do taxes here, you use like the regular names and all of that.
Yeah.
But these companies don't answer questions. It's just when it's taxes in, you just submit your information or answer some questions, and he say, "Hey, your taxes are done," and people just move on about their business. So I just started thinking about it, like, okay, I could make this thing something that people know me for. Like, if you have
Yeah.
questions, Jerry's your go-to guy. Direct your questions to him and answer them. And I started doing that on Twitter. No plans to formalize it, nothing. The formalizing process just came up sometime last year. I just casually registered a domain and started designing the website. I said, okay, let me just see how this thing works. Put the website together, answer people's questions so that because every time I had to answer questions, like let's say for example, someone asks an RRSP question and I answer it.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, someone will ask an RRSP question again, and I'll answer it again.
Yeah.
Or I would go back to my old post, copy the link, and put it under the post. So I was answering the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
So the idea of the website was put everything on one
Please.
site.
Yeah.
When people ask the same questions, or you just copy your link and
Yeah.
direct them there. That way, it is there finally. I don't have to write the same thing over and over again. I can just
Hmm.
go and update it. So, in a nutshell, without blowing this question out of proportion,
I don't think you are though.
I didn't think of that for whatever reasons until sometime last year.
And because I think we talked a lot actually. Like people, I talked with Jerry a ton. Jerry did my taxes though, by the way. And what I really want to talk with you also, what I want to talk about also is the reception you got after you went live with this. One thing I should add though is that I do think that, so I feel like the like you're the there's nobody who talks about tax on Twitter, because I think on LinkedIn a ton of people talk about tax on LinkedIn a ton. And I think that what you've actually recognized is that there's a niche for like our community. Like we have a ton of people on Twitter who, especially much younger people, a lot of them on Twitter, like it favors them much better. But no one answers their questions on there. No one talks about it on there. I mean, people talk a lot about how to save your TFSC or RRSP.
Yeah,
Or people boast about how much they have in their accounts and stuff like that. People do that a ton on Nigerian Twitter has that a lot. But I don't think we have enough people who are saying, hey, this is what to do with tax. This is how to apply for your remote, like apply for it. Because I mean, like I remember what we did when we were solving my own tax situation about remote working, and I sent the form in. It didn't work out, but like,
yeah,
but the point was, I didn't even know that existed. Like I didn't know that existed. No one talks about it. But what I also want to explore with you is when you now launch TaxWiz, were you surprised with the amount of orders you got for people who wanted to take your service, despite all the questions that came pre before launching?
yeah. So I was in a total complete shock. Okay, so I'm not going to pretend like I did not know prior to launching that I had a good ton of people who relied on me for information and all of that. Like people come to my DMs not almost, every single time I post something, I have one or two people in my DMs
Yeah,
asking questions to like break down what I've just posted. So I knew in a way that I was going to get a good clientele, but I had no idea the number was going to be that much. So
yeah,
what it just showed me was it wasn't even about the business side of it. What that launch showed me was that you are actually um, a hub for taxes for so many people that you have no idea about, because there are people who interact with me on a case on an everyday basis when I post
yeah,
stuff. So I know those ones who most likely come to me to ask questions or for me to do their taxes. But the number of people who I did not know that reads my post is actually what shocked me. Like sometimes I post and I get reactions, but there are like people, and I'm even talking about people that are not even in our community, people that
yeah,
are outside of the Nigerian community, like the immigrant community at
yeah.
large, and even born and bred Canadians, like full born Canadians in Canada. They actually read my content, digest it, and make sense of it. So launching it was just what showed me that okay, you actually need to come correct all the time. Like now you no longer have the opportunity to just say whatever and it's not correct. Like every single thing you post has to be correct. But anyway, that's on the lighter side. But
What I would say to that is a friend always says to me that when you do stuff, like when you talk about stuff online, there's always a number you don't know about. There's always a number out there that you have no idea that they are reading,
yeah,
watching, sharing. And he said it's like he made an example. Like it's so wild that it can just be simple people who go like, "Hey, they didn't share the link. They just simply said, see, look at this. That question you asked me. See, this guy talked about. So that person
exactly.
saw your post.
Exactly.
He did not interact with your post. Like he just saw someone showed him or her your post. Like, hey, that question you asked me, this is the answer here. They look at it, and you know how the human brain works. It's like, okay, there's this guy called Jerry
Yeah.
Mokoma who I can probably talk to at some point later,
Exactly.
and they just move on with their lives.
Yeah.
Now, I want to kind of get to the real reason why we're doing this. Tax season is over. I think one truism I've heard, and I agree with, I haven't done it yet, is that you start preparing for 2025 tax season 1 year before you do it. Like you literally start
Yeah.
preparing before. But before we even start talking about that, I think I'm just trying to ask like war stories. Like, what are the biggest mistakes you saw people make while just filing taxes? This helping people file their taxes. What are the mistakes you see people make a lot? What are the things that you think people can do to prevent those mistakes? Because I feel like the Canadian tax is so interesting in the sense that it's obvious, but it's not obvious. And then, like, you're right. When you all talk about it sometimes, like, I read it and I'm like, I don't understand what he's talking about. I just. And then the problem about not understanding is that the mistakes are costly. That's just the problem with it. Like, those mistakes can be very expensive. So, like, if you say, what are the biggest, let's start with the three biggest mistakes you see people make, or the mistakes that keep reoccurring over and over again when you look at some of the people that made mistakes with their tax filing and stuff.
There's so many mistakes actually, so I'm just trying to see how I can put the three biggest ones forward.
I mean,
But
then maybe say all of them as much as we can take.
I'm going to try and say three. So the major one I would say is, okay, so everyone knows like people to make ends meet in Canada because of the times that we are in. You kind of need like several jobs or as much jobs as possible.
Yeah.
But on the minimal side, most people have two jobs. Now, what people do not realize is if you have when you get your first job, your employer is deducting your taxes based on certain information that you have provided to them.
Yeah.
So because of that, it's called the personal tax credit form. Basically, you're basically letting your employer know, okay, so I'm a single guy or a married person. I support my partner. I do not support my partner. I live in this province. I am a student, or whatever you want to claim. Or I have an infirm child. Or I have a disability. Blah blah blah. Based on this information that you fill on that form, your employer is going to calculate what taxes they should deduct from your pay before you get your net pay. Now, for starters, there are people who do not fill this correctly.
Mm.
Now, but on the larger side of it, most people will feel it correctly because you basically just need to feel two sides of it. So I live in Ontario, I live in BC, I live in Alberta. This is the credit for Alberta, you put it there. The form actually also self-explains that. So if you just put the maximum figure there, you're good, generally. But when they get a second job, what people don't realize is if you fill that same information again on that second job, the taxes that are going to be deducted from that second pay is going to be lower than what should be deducted because you have basically you have claimed those credits twice. So the basic personal amount for Canada this year is 16,125, meaning this is a credit that's going to be deducted from your account after your taxes have been collected. Like that's a credit that's going to be applied to you. Sorry. So
Yeah.
if you're supposed to pay 10,000 in taxes, the personal amount is going to be applied and then you pay lesser.
Yeah.
Now, if you claim that amount twice because you have two jobs, what you don't realize is that you are only entitled to one of that amount in a year. So a lot
Mm.
of people get a second job, they fill that form, they send it to the employer deducts taxes as if that is their only job. And now the taxes that are deducted in the second job is less. Now, when it's time to file your tax, you come to me, you go to anybody, you do it yourself. Only one of those credits is going to be applied. Now, the implication of that second credit that you have claimed is going to throw up, meaning you're going to be returning that credit to the
To the
CRA,
government, to
and it's
Sari.
going to increase the taxes that you're going to pay. Now, don't forget that your employer has deducted taxes from you. So what people come to me and say is, I paid my taxes. Like I have two T4s. Look at the tax portion of the two T4s. But you don't realize that those two T4s, in the first instance, those two amounts may have thrown you over the tax bracket for that.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
earn 100,000 or 115,000, basically, you are in one tax bracket. You're paying 15% or 22.5%. Combine 105,000 with even an 80K job, you are now earning out around 200 grand. But each of your employers have deducted taxes on one tax bracket
Mm.
because they both do not know that your combined earnings for the year has thrown you into a
Yeah.
different tax bracket.
Jeez, like that's even the second on that's another second order
Exactly. So
problem.
by the time you compile your information, your T4 is just an employment income. It's not your total income. So by the time
Yes.
you combine one T4, two T4s, that's just employment income. You file taxes based on all income earned in the year. So if you had a T5, you invested, you bought shares through Wealthsimple or Quick Quest Trade or whatever, and you get a T5, you got interest of 5,000, of 3,000. Any additional income in addition to your employment income takes your total income to a certain amount. Your tax
Yeah.
bracket is going to be judged on your total income. So at the end of
Hmm.
the day, there's going to be a marginal difference of what you should actually pay compared with what you paid. And
Yeah.
that is what your tax payable at the end of the tax season is going to be. So that those forms that you filled, I understand that some people do not want to not claim those credits, because when you don't claim the credit, then you're letting your employer know that I have a second job. And some people actually do not want to disclose that. So
Yeah.
they only feel it twice, pretending they have like one job each.
Yeah.
But in that, what you should do in that situation is make a mental note of the fact that I have taxes owing. Don't live your life as if my net pay is my net pay. No, you have taxes due to you that will throw up at the end of the year, and you need to make accounting for. If you cannot
Oh
do
God.
that, then be prepared to accept what the tax bill is going to be at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's just simply what it is. I think other ones will just be around. I mean, there were several mistakes, but I think the next major one will be around, managing your RRSP situation.
Okay.
A lot of immigrants come into the country. They read resources on RRSP. Oh, this is beautiful. I need to have a retirement account. Or they get a very good job where there's RRSP matching. So you're deducting 500 from your account on a monthly basis. Your employer is matching that with exactly 500 or 200 or 300 or whatever. So that's money. That's a good money to not leave on the table. And I advise everybody to do that. But if you are new to the country, you do not have an RRSP role. It's that simple. So if you are contributing into your RRSP account the very year you came into the country, you are in default of the RRSP account
Yes.
automatically. Because your
Yeah.
RRSP room is calculated based on your prior year's income, 18% of that, for a certain amount that changes every year based on inflation. So if you came into the country in 2025, you automatically did not earn an income in Canada in 2024. So if you're contributing to your RSP account, you are going to be penalized. Every single amount, every single dollar you contribute
Yeah.
is going to be taxed, because you are taking advantage of an account that
You have
you
no right to
you have no right to. What you can use is the TFSA. The TFSA is a tax-free account. It's just for you to shelter some funds, based in
Mm-mm.
a particular cap space. Obviously, 7,000 this year. It also changes every year. So if you contribute into your RSP account the very year you come into the country, you cannot claim those credit those contributions.
Yeah.
By default, you cannot claim it. But then that's just one. You can always transfer the claim to a separate year, so that's fine. But the major part is you cannot contribute into the account because you don't have a room. So if you contribute into the account, you have to you have to amend it. You have to fill a very complicated form. I actually posted about this on Twitter recently too. You have to fill a very complicated form, send it to the CRA, withdraw those amounts that you've contributed, and pay a tax, the penalty of 1% monthly. That that actually accumulates,
Jesus Christ.
compounds until you have cleared the account. So there's several mistakes. And if I'm being fair, if I'm being honest, I don't blame people who fall into these traps, because
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that there's actually so much information out there. I mean, every single thing I can ever say is probably on the CRA website.
It's
Or
overwhelming and it's written in very
yeah,
interesting
exactly.
speak. Like,
That is where I feel like my niche is. So I found a way to break down information that you basically find anywhere, but in easy to understand language. You see it, I break it down, I play with words, I give you examples. When you read it, you have that aha moment like, okay, so this is what this says. Like, I had no idea what this is what this means. But this guy has put it down together in ways that I can
Yeah.
understand. So, I mean, I don't blame people. The information is out there, but there are very few resources out there that puts it together in one space and then breaks it down together for the layman to understand.
Yeah. Kansas tax is such an interesting thing. I think the last one, the last thing I have for you basically is, I mean, people say this all the time that if you want to use next year's tax, you start now to do it. And I think if you what's the one simple thing, or and I don't like to say simple thing because things are not that simple. But how do you even start doing that from your perspective? Like, what do you start? How do you start even getting to that point where you start prepping for next year's tax now? Like in easy to understand ways.
I think it's pretty simple. So, what people would typically say is start preparing for your next tax season when one ends. And if you have to look at it that way, a tax season ends in, I mean, there's nothing like a tax season, first of all, because you do your taxes anytime of the year.
Yeah.
But we understand why we use taxes in Nigeria. There's this popular one. Start of the year, around February, the CRA launches the application where you can file your taxes. And then 30th of April is the deadline. So technically, that's seen as taxes. And then people say, as soon as you file your first tax, which is like maybe the deadline is 30th of April, by 1st of May, start planning for the next one.
Okay.
But then that's where you're wrong because you've lost 4 months in the new year already.
Interesting.
So ideas, strategies, everything you could have done in the first 4 months are gone. Now you have May to December to correct, which is not too late, but depending on how complicated your situation is, you might have lost a good number of days or months for you to take advantage of, planning. So what I tell people is you start planning your taxes as soon as you're saying Happy New Year to people. It feels boring and whatever, but then that's actually when it starts. That's when you can, contribute into your TFSA. From the first of the year, you can contribute the entire amount if you have it, and you start taking advantage of the entire compounding interest up to the end of the year. From the first of the year, you can contribute to your first home savings account, and you start taking advantage of the compounding benefits up to the end of the year. So if you do not do these things from the first of the day of the new year, and you're waiting till you file your old taxes, because you need to understand that even though we file taxes in the new year, we are filing it based on information and events that occurred in the last year.
Yeah.
So 31st December is going to come and go. People are going to say Happy New Year, take down their decorations. It's Valentine's season. Is so many things will happen. Is even Easter will come and go, and
Yeah.
then you file your taxes, and then you go again into the year. So everything that has happened from January to December, you have a record of it. You cannot go back and change it.
Mm.
Your receipts, your contributions, everything that has happened, you can have an exact idea of what your tax situation is going to be from the first week of January before you file your taxes. Because you either know what to do or you have a tax person or a financial planner that can handle it for you. I have people who send me the information as soon as the year ends. Like Jerry, or I have people who actually just let me know as soon as they get a new job, they're making a new investment or they're buying a
Yeah.
house. They want to know what to expect in the new year. They're not surprised at the taxes. Not, oh, I'm trying to find my taxes now. My bill is 17 grand, or I'm gonna get just 2,500 as refund. Well, I was
Yeah.
expecting 10 grand. You're not gonna get more than what you planned for. If you plan to have a $25,000 refund next year, you can control a bit of that from your decisions now. You're not going to get 25 grand. You're not going to get 10 grand, for example, if you don't max out your RRSP, you don't max out FHSA if you've not built the house. You don't, you know, make certain moves, that might be too complicated to start discussing on air right now.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a huge tax bill if you
Hmm.
don't make those decisions. So you actually start when one ends, when 1 year ends. That's how it is, and it's not difficult to do. To be honest, it's not difficult to do. There are people who believe, oh, I need to earn a certain amount of money. I need to be earning 100 grand. That's like the middle ground for, I'm not earning too high. I'm not earning too
Yeah.
low. I need to start, having lots of money before I can, plan my taxes.
Yeah.
But then you don't need to wait till those moments. There are bits and pieces of events that will occur in the year. It could be as simple as paying your tuition fees, or certain medical expenses that you've incurred, or certain donations, or anything you do, basically, no matter how much you earn, can put you in a good position for the next year.
People, I think we need to talk more to Jerry. Jerry, I mean, we're ending this here. Like, thank you so much for this, but we have to design something for this for the community that, and we'll talk about this later and see what we can offer. But because the tax bill, I mean, I made a tax mistake, just talking to the wrong person and stuff, and I know what it cost me. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing this, bar. Like, honestly, like, really, thank you. Because, like, you're right, it's like the conversation, the language is so convoluted. It's just so convoluted. But thank
I
you.
agree with you. Absolutely agree with you.
All right, man. Thanks a bunch, brother.
You're welcome. We should do this again sometime.
Yeah, we should do more of this, actually. Again, 5 people, the first 5 to get to me, I'll send their names to Jerry and he'll contact you. If you love this episode, please share with someone who finds it useful. If you know someone I should talk to, send them my way. As always, please like, share, subscribe. You know what, Substack. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can find us there. People, enjoy.